Hi, my name is Swede White. I work in public relations here at Wolfram Research. Today my presentation is on correlations between Bitcoin tweets and Bitcoin price.
Good morning, everyone. How is everyone doing this morning? Bright and early here in Champaign. Okay, good. My name is Swede White. I work here at Wolfram Research in the Public Relations Department, or as it was dubbed last night, the Smiles Department, because we like to make everyone smile and spread the very good news of Wolfram Research and our products. Today, we're giving a presentation analyzing correlations between Bitcoin tweets that mention the hashtag BTC and price, trading price of Bitcoin. So we're going to be doing mainly kind of an exploratory analysis, looking at the kind of the quick, fast prototyping capabilities of Wolfram Language. So just in brief, as we all know, social media websites have become more and more important, especially in the last presidential election. Twitter is becoming particularly kind of a real-time, 24/7 area where the news is discussed, and it does have impacts outside of social media. In the past, it has been assumed that what happens on social media kind of stays in that sphere, and it doesn't make its way kind of out of that into reality, so to speak. So what we're going to do here is use a little bit of natural language processing and some time series analysis to examine these correlations. What we're going to do mainly is visualize it to see if we can see any kind of trends between sentiment and Bitcoin price. So one thing that's been going on in the past 5 years, I used to be a PhD student in sociology, and I was very interested in social media. One thing that happened frequently is that I would tell professors I was interested in studying Reddit or something like that, and they would look at me and that's not real research. That's not real data, things of this nature. And there are some criticisms around that, and some of those I do want to address since we're using Twitter data, is that it's not necessarily representative of the population. So if we are going to do any sort of statistical analyses, we have to keep that in mind, that we can't necessarily take what's on Twitter and then generalize to the population at large. So cryptocurrencies, I'm assuming everyone here is familiar with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. So back in around 2008, this figure, Satoshi Nakamoto, wrote a white paper outlining blockchain and the cryptocurrency Bitcoin. So the idea is there is a ledger where you can, there's peer-to-peer transactions, and the idea is to have it decentralized. It has the potential to not only disrupt how we do banking, how we do transactions, but also recently some claim to the internet itself. So natural language processing, if you've done it before, textual data is very messy. We're dealing with unstructured stuff. We're not dealing with nice tabular data or spreadsheets. One good thing about Wolfram Language is it has a lot of built-in functions to help us clean up our text and analyze it. There's some new stuff that Steven outlines coming in version 12 that is actually quite exciting. And it's one of our strengths with Wolfram Language, and that should be of no surprise given the success of Wolfram Alpha, being able to enter a query into it and have it return accurate results to you. And for today, we're going to look at kind of rapid prototyping, how quickly we can do sentiment classification, and how quickly we can visualize stuff, really to kind of test some assumptions or some hypotheses to see if we should take it a step further. So if you ever have a research question or something like that, you can wind up spending weeks trying to just get started and figure it out. One of the advantages of working in Wolfram Language is that you can spend like a half hour and get your work done and get some answers. Okay, so data collection for this was tricky. So we're going to use tweets with the hashtag BTC. We can use the Twitter API using Service Connect. Has anyone used Service Connect with Twitter before? You have. So you run into rate limits with it, right? I believe the rate limit's around 5,000. So you can set up an automated task and have this collect more frequently. You can also use the Twitter API Firehose. So I contacted Twitter out of curiosity to see how much it would cost to tap into their Firehose, and it starts at $1,250 for a 40-day period. But it's 1 million tweets. It's quite a lot. They do have complete history. So let's say we found something very interesting in our analysis here. We could go to Twitter and buy this and look at historically and see what's going on. We would be spending quite a bit of money, though. So what I did actually is use the Wolfram Data Drop. Has anybody used the Wolfram Data Drop before? Okay, so basically what I have is I have if this then that set up, and this is a a little applet. I believe it was made by Wolfram, actually. So you can put in a hashtag, and what it does, anytime that pops up, it's going to dump it into a data bin that we can later call for analysis. So what we have here is text and timestamp. Since it's collecting in real time, we don't have like and retweet data. But since we have the tweet ID, we can go back and find that. So what we do first is we import from our data bin. And as you can see, it returns this nice object right here with all our information. We can see that we have 129,873 tweets that we are going to be looking at. These have been collected since June 8th of this year. So then we have a nice data set, and you can see we have our tweets with our timestamp. And so what I've done here, we're just defining our time and our text. And so we're also going to need to grab the Bitcoin price. So Wolfram Alpha does have Bitcoin price, and you can grab it from Wolfram Alpha. What it has, though, is closing, though. So it only has each day, has the closing price. What I wanted to do is get a little bit more granular and get to the hourly level, so I went to a third-party website to grab that. So I've grabbed that here, check our dimensions, and then we're going to define our date, price, and I've also grabbed volume, because I'm kind of interested in what's going on with volume as it compares to sentiment on Twitter. So we have several options for kind of breaking up chunks of text into paragraph, sentence, word, letter, et cetera, in Wolfram Language. Since I'm interested in the sentiment of each tweet, I'm going to keep everything at the tweet level. But I'm going to clean it up just a little bit to remove stop words and then also URLs. So by default, if you've used the built-in sentiment classifier, it's very simple. It returns values of positive, negative, neutral. What we're going to do right here is change those to 1, -1, and indeterminate as 0, so we can better, more easily visualize this. So after I've run my sentiment classifier, we can kind of take a quick look at it and see what we have. Well, if I can get this cell to open. So we have a lot of neutral. That's likely because there are still, I didn't filter out as much as I probably could have. So we have a lot of neutral going on, but more positive than negative for sure. So now what we're going to do is create a time series of our sentiment values and time. And so what I've done here as well is use mean filter to smooth some of this out. So if I did not apply this filter to it and kind of do a moving average of this, we're going to have a lot of noise and not going to be able to see any kind of signal going on in it. So as you can see, around August, if you'll recall, Bitcoin price went way up, shot way up and kind of came down. So we can see our sentiment going up right here. What's interesting and what we'll kind of get to is, the question is what's driving what? We're not sure if sentiment is driving the Bitcoin price or if Bitcoin price is driving the sentiment. Because obviously, if you own a lot of Bitcoin and the price is going up, you might tweet about being very happy about it. Or if it's going down, you might tweet about being kind of upset that you've lost a bunch of money in cryptocurrency. So we're also going to run a time series of our Bitcoin price. And as we did just with sentiment, we're going to define price, volume, we've already defined time. We can also see, as I mentioned, around August, this huge spike, as we did with sentiment. It looks like this is happening just a little bit before the sentiment on Twitter kind of rapidly increased. And so what I'm going to do here is, to visualize this, is rescale. So I picked some fairly arbitrary numbers here that I played around with to get these all into one plot. So what I've done here is kind of redoing sentiment and then plotted that as it's scaled. And so as you can see, we have our scaled sentiment score, Bitcoin price, and Bitcoin volume. What's interesting, like I mentioned right here, is this spike in August, and then we see the sentiment score going up, but it's slightly correlated. So I would ask you in the audience, what do you think is going on here, and what would you do going forward? Anyone? Carlo, what do you think? Right, so we could, what we could do further is do a time series model and see what we could come up with that and look at the direct correlations between what's going on with the score and the price, then also the volume. So I'm ending way early. We've been able to quickly prototype a time series with natural language processing to see if there's something worth exploring. We could take things further by gathering complete Twitter data with more search terms, and then also identify influential accounts on Twitter with search terms and network analysis. Like I said, we could also create time series models to extract, for exact correlation values between our sentiment and Bitcoin price. Does anyone have questions?